Snyder.
Chapter 4. Dinner Time. Sebastian Simmons. Upstate Massachusetts, 2018. "Dinner's ready," my wife Anna shouted, standing at the bottom of the stairs for just the right amount of time before she had to pull the potatoes out of the oven. She hustled through the living room and touched my shoulder. "That means you too. Come on." "Just give me a minute," I replied, folding a hook over a fluorescent blue LED vibrating gelatin worm, my best-selling fishing bait and what I spent most of my days making by hand. The sound of a stampede rumbled down the stairs as the twins, Sarah and Susie, rushed past one another to get to the table. Their strawberry blonde hair was halfway done up into ponytails, frilled out and held together by a couple orange scrunchies. They slid into their chairs and put their napkins on their laps, reaching for what was already on the table. "Now, hold on," Anna snapped, smacking their hands away from the biscuits. "You wait for your father and brother. That is, if they care to join us." "I'm coming," I sighed, putting my gear down and reaching for my cane. I made my way to the table, passing by the stairs to yell up to my son, Archer. "Archer, come on, dinner time." "Can we eat now?" the twins asked. "You can serve yourselves, but don't eat before we say grace." "Looks good," I commented, taking my seat at the head of the table. I rested my cane against the leg of my chair and pushed it forward, accidentally bumping into Elvis, our old hound dog, lying under the table. Anna took the seat opposite me and smiled, thanking me for the compliment. The girls piled up their plates and picked up their silverware, eagerly staring at the stairs. I scratched Elvis under his ear with one hand and slipped him a bite of roast beef with the other. Anna stopped smiling at me, of the opinion, and rightfully so, that her cooking was too good to leave to the dog. We all sat quietly and impatiently for a moment, waiting for Archer. But I was in no mood to go hungry for someone too lazy to walk to the table. "All right, everybody, you know the drill," I grumbled, raising 3 fingers above the table and counting down. 3, 2, 1. "Dinner time!" we all screamed as Archer finally decided to come out of his room and join us. "All right," he shouted, slumping down the stairs as he slipped his cell phone into his pocket. He brushed his long black hair out of his face and pulled up a seat across from the twins. Elvis licked my fingers, asking for another helping, and I pulled my chair forward again to get him to stop. "It's about time," Sarah exclaimed, practically drooling on her plate. "Shut up!" "Hush," Anna commanded, giving the twins and Archer quick glances to let them know what was what. "You give your thanks to God, and then you can complain about each other," she finished, folding her hands in front of her face and closing her eyes. The rest of us followed in suit, and Elvis put his head back down, realizing he'd gotten all he was gonna get from me. "For health and strength and daily bread we give thee thanks, O Lord. Amen. 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 Amen." The twins started shoveling food into their mouths as Anna and I began building our plates. Archer took a few vegetables and a biscuit, avoiding most of what Anna had made as he'd done ever since he started high school last fall. He moped and scowled and kept to himself, never saying anything, and certainly never saying anything good, at least to me or the family. But for someone who never spoke, he sure did run up a lot of minutes talking on the phone, calling all kinds of kids I'd never met, who didn't come by the house other than to honk their horns and drive off with my son and the allowance I gave him, showing up 15 minutes after curfew, if he was lucky, and never bothering to use the phone we'd bought him to let us know. My father used to say, "The only thing harder than being a teenager is having to put up with one." I used to take offense to that philosophy. Now I sympathized. "There's going to be a fireworks display later tonight if you're all interested," Anna announced, looking at Archer as she said it. "Some kind of big opening ceremony for the new shopping mall." "Can we get cotton candy?" Susie started. "And glow sticks?" Sarah finished. "As long as you make a point of eating the right one this time," I joked, getting a grin from Anna and blank stares from everyone else. "You may get cotton candy and glow sticks, only if you finish your homework before we go," Anna continued, laying down the law. "Make sure you do your own homework this time," I added, slicing open a biscuit and filling it with gravy. "No more trading math for English." "We don't do that," Sarah protested, willing to say anything to keep from having to write an essay. Susie said nothing, neither agreeing or disagreeing with her sister, a telltale sign that Sarah was lying. "Well, from the striking similarity in your spelling errors and long division, I have reason to doubt that," I exclaimed, as Sarah accepted my judgment, letting out an exasperated sigh. "How about you, Archer?" Anna asked, trying to include him in tonight's family outing despite his reluctance to so much as eat with us. He momentarily pulled his attention away from the staring contest he was having with his food and shook his head. "You sure? Be good to have you. I already made plans with my friends," he stated, suddenly rushing through what was on his plate. "They can come too," I suggested. "Would make spying on you a lot easier," I laughed, getting blank stares from everyone this time. I cleared my throat in an attempt to stop appreciating my own joke. It didn't work. "What your father means is that we haven't seen much of you lately. I'm busy." "He has a girlfriend," Sarah suggested. Susie nodded in agreement. "Shut up, brats!" "Don't tell your sisters to shut up, Archer. Only your father and I can do that," Anna instructed, hiding the fact that she was happy to hear the news. "Yeah, jerk," the twins replied. "Girls, shut up," Anna stated, rolling her eyes. I wiped away a single tear, finally able to stop chuckling about my joke. "If that's true, and you do have a friend who's a girl, know that she's welcome to come over for dinner any time." "Not likely," Archer scoffed, finishing the last bite off his plate. The sound of a car horn came from just outside the driveway, and he lifted his head. "Thanks for dinner," he exclaimed, clearing his setting from the table on his way out. "Remember, no later than 10 o'clock, Anna hollered, her words dulled by the sound of the front door shutting. A moment later we heard muffled voices and a car pulling away. Anna sighed and smiled reassuringly at me. She then turned suspiciously towards the twins as she cut into her piece of roast beef. "So, girls, what do you know about Archer's girlfriend?" "Her name's Brianna, but he calls her Bree," Sarah said. "Like the cheese?" I asked, rubbing my leg as I felt it start to stiffen up. "No, like the town in The Lord of the Rings," Susie replied. "Does she go to school with him?" "Yeah, they're in chemistry together." "That explains why his science grades have been slipping," I commented, pulling my hand away from my leg as Elvis started licking my fingers again. "She's a cheerleader." "Really?" Anna and I exclaimed, looking at one another with equal surprise and concern. A smirk curled her cheeks up, and I raised an eyebrow. Anna was a cheerleader when we started dating. "Yeah, she's a total conformist," Sarah added. "That's not nice. I'm sure she's a lovely girl. Her picture's on Facebook. I can show you," Susie suggested, pushing away from the table and walking out of the room to get the computer. Sarah chased after her, leaving her empty plate wobbling into Anna's waiting hand. She looked gleefully at me for a moment, biting her lip as a big grin spread from ear to ear. "He's 15. Stop thinking about grandchildren." "Oh, hush," she chuckled, gingerly stacking the girls' plates and clearing them from the table. "I'm just happy for him is all." "Well, I'm still worried," I complained, wishing I could see Archer happy rather than hear about it from the girls. "A man needs to show respect where it's due if a man's due any respect." "Stop quoting your father. Makes you sound like a stitched pillow." "Thanks. I'll be sure to mention that to him the next time I stop by his grave," I exclaimed, standing up and leaning on my cane. I made my way over to Anna by the sink and put a hand around her hip. "My father doesn't get enough exercise all cooped up down there. He could use something to roll around about." She laughed and gave me a quick kiss to shut me up. "I don't know. I mean, other than chemistry, his grades are fine. He has plenty of friends. He gets out of the house. Should we be worried?" Anna asked as the girls shouted to us from the other room. "Here! We found a picture where she's mooning the camera!" "No, we shouldn't be worried," I replied, shaking my head to show my appreciation of my son's choice in women. "We're the parents of 3 kids in the digital age. We should be terrified."